everybody, David here, and we're back at the UCL, the University College of London build. Oops, and I've just driving from that perspective is very difficult. So the complex is huge, and this section is undone. But as you can see, I've been plotting out where I want to put stuff. The biggest problem was in this corner there was sort of a monastery, like a smaller building, and then a proper cross-shaped, I would call it a cathedral, but it calls itself a church, so a very big church. And the church runs behind this building and next to this building. And as you can see, there's not a lot of space. So I've had to modify it. This is the center of this bit. And I realized that, firstly, that's actually the shape. You know, a church, this particular church that's in here, in reality, is cross-shaped, like Christian cross. And in Aram, well, on Planet Shadow, the so-called dominant, the big religion, uses a not a cruciform, quatrefoil as the holy symbol. So the churches would be quatrefoil shaped, not sort of cross shaped like ours. So I've put the church, I've moved the church to here, although it may actually end up looking like a cross because it should theoretically end there. But we'll see what happens. And then there's another building that joyously, and I say this with much sarcasm, is on a diagonal. Although I did the maths, I actually spent the time and did the maths, so it's even. And it stops and starts where it's supposed to. These buildings are all relatively tall, and sort of these ones are sort of house shaped. I think these ones are like 3 or 4 stories, and there's like one of these is the engineering department and stuff like that. There's also a tunnel somewhere around here ish, or more on the map. I can see a tunnel. There's like cars in this area, so this is building, and that is building, and this is building, but this area is clear, and there's trees and other bits and pieces, but there's cars here, and there's some kind of like a tunnel to get the car in, but I haven't been able to find that out. I mean, unless it's hidden or unless it's here, because this bit here looks like a ginormous sort of 3-storied garage. Ginormous doors, but on this side, as best as I can tell, there isn't a car entrance. I might put one in anyway because it makes sense, and this isn't a perfect replica. I can't make it a perfect replica. My scale's out, and I'm not, honestly, I'd have to do the whole thing again, and I can't face that. So tough. But I'm going to try this. This lane, I've forgotten the name now. This lane here is relatively well known. It's sort of, I think, because there's a coffee place nearby somewhere. Might actually, that's the coffee place. But it's a relatively, like a cultural, it's mentioned a lot in the sort of student cultural pages. So I'm going to try and make this view to the end as close as I can get, as close as I can see. I mean, you can get a few pictures that are not Google Maps, Street View, of this lane. My brain says Worley Place or Lane or something, but that's actually a place that I knew of when I was at university in Hamilton in New Zealand, so it's probably the wrong word. But this driveway, or I don't know, lane, I think it's technically a lane because it's not 2 lanes like with a car, but it's more like kind of almost 1 lane with sort of pedestrian zones, or the whole thing's a pedestrian zone. And there's, you know, engineering, and I think there's like an auto, like for cars, like mechanic-y type department. Obviously the buildings that I did that aren't like the actual buildings, these 3, I haven't decided whether I'm going to move them or not. I like them. I like them, but I've made it so that the back door is here instead of in the glass. Although this is a very narrow, very narrow hallway or alley for there to be a double door to exit out into it. So this build is huge, and I may actually have to do it in 2 parts, but I have basically spaced it out. Originally I thought that this roundabouty thing actually went this way, but from what I can see it doesn't. There's also another building sort of here-ish, but this space isn't quite big enough for it, and the Google Map view is it's covered in trees. I can't even see what kind of building it is. I'm going to see if I can Google it and see if there's any good images of what it looks like, but I might, if I can't get any good images of it, I'm going to have to just like maybe just put a really big tree here instead of the building. As I said, it's too late for me to be able to do a proper replica of this area, but I can at least make it look interesting, and this lane I'm going to try and make it look as realistic as possible, so that, you know, one day if people who've been to UCL download the game level, if I'll make it available to people one day, they'll be able to visit certain areas and go, oh my gosh, that's so close to, you know, or you've missed this bit out, or that sort of thing. I still haven't decided what to do with the sides of this building. I may actually just be lazy and extend it with this pattern, because that's nice, and it's not the back. The actual back is sort of a flat brick, sort of boring back, but that's pretty, and I've been thinking about it for a long time, and I just can't figure it out. I'll also have to do something about the inside here, put another a garden of some variety and stuff. This looks nice. I like this. Although I probably don't want it on all 4 sides. But we'll see how far I go before I get twitchy and want to do something else. So, go back to the pretty view. And the chicken. Hello, chicken. Me and the chicken and the buildings. My brain was going to that old song. Is it me and you and a bird named Boo? Or something named Boo. I don't even know what that song is. Anyway. Wish me luck. And cue the music. welcome back. I'm not entirely sure what sound can come out of having a skull head, other than not meow. But I thought I'd put another head on just because it's funny, and it's almost Halloween season. So there's this thing that happens when I get migraine brain. It basically means I can't keep up with anything. Like time, my pills, feeding myself on time, sleeping at the real time that I'm supposed to, all that kind of stuff. Mostly because my migraines require me to be inside in the dark, so my body doesn't get enough light to realize, oh, it's daytime now, or oh, it's nighttime now, I should feel tired. And part of the migraine brain is my sense of sequencing just falls out the window. Which is why, I'm sorry, some of the montage footage, particularly in the next block that you'll see, is a little zigzaggy. So there's a few sharp turns in the camera view. I tried to keep it to a minimum, but there were a couple of bits that I can't help. They almost give me motion sickness. So fair warning, there's a little bit of fast motion. But another part was I did all the actual work without recording a midtro, like what I'm doing right now, and halfway through the work. So I'm going to do a sort of midtro, just because you don't want 8 minutes in a row of montage. Well, I presume you don't. So I chose to delete the tunnel that was here and actually put the building back the way it was. It's not obviously sort of literal. The insides do not match reality. It's not a thing I'm trying. But I tried to make the outsides look as much as possible. And part of that was actually deleting my custom buildings, moving my custom buildings, and then deleting them where they were before on the other side of the building there. Now I kept the first two the same. I made a bit of mistake with the clone function and had to do the entire face of this building again, which is really annoying. I wish my brain would actually process the clone commands properly. I hate having fibro or migraine brain. So these two are normal, and this one I thought, well, I could expand it to fill the space. So I made it slightly wider. Oh, and I totally forgot to do this last. It's always after the fact that you notice you've forgotten something. Oops. But I made it bigger, so it was a bit more symmetrical. I added new frames so that the windows didn't like half work. I also changed the back, made it wider, because this back was originally nothing. It was just a wall, and you don't have walls facing roads. So I thought, let's figure out how to make this back pretty, and I added bits and pieces and changed the roof and just basically tried to upgrade it. I had this image of this building being a cafe that the students go to all the time. I'm not sure why, but I think it's pretty, so why not? So there's an extra area. Theoretically, there would be tables here for people to sit outside, and I might later on have a go with like pot plants and stuff. And there'd be chairs and tables, and probably under the part of the stairwell will probably be a a place where you go and order coffee. I haven't finished, but I did this area as another area where people can eat. Maybe have this the restaurant and this the cafe. Oh. No. There we go. And this can be the cafe area, so students can have coffee and study and stuff. I had a place when I was at university, it was called the Oranga Cafe. It's actually, the whole building's called the Oranga. It's round. Looks like a flying saucer from particular angles. It's quite funny. But this, I wanted to have a nice sort of a different kind of ceiling. I imagine it to be a lattice, you know. So it's technically outside, but with the ability to not get rained on. I haven't put the tables and chairs in yet. I just did this when I was bored and I was tired of the problems of the buildings that replace it. I got my scale wrong and then I had to sort of manage it a bit. Because this section, the part of the buildings, the part of the complex over there where these three buildings were, is still not, it's still not long enough for all the buildings that are actually supposed to be there. So there was a lot of fiddling with scale and making things bigger and making them smaller, and you'll see in the montage. There's quite a bit of fiddling. But I moved these first, did a bunch of montage, and then very carefully, extra carefully, moved this building before deleting it over on that one and expanding it. But I really like this little building. I like the little courtyard area. I'll definitely put some interior in here and stuff, tables and chairs and stuff. And this is just pretty. Just imagine, like, pretend there's a vines going up rather than down. Have pot plants in different places, kind of almost sort of like a vineyard or something. I don't know. But the kept the stairwell as it was, although I opened bits out so it wasn't quite so sealed and stuff. So we've got this meeting area or dance floor. I expanded the whole thing. I think it was about 5 or 6 meters. So this is new in this corner and stuff like that. I spent so long trying to get this bloody floor even. It's glazed terracotta is really neat when you can get the different patterns to work, but gosh, they are not made at all for like going fast. It's worse than placing down stairs for roofs. It's just awful. I lifted the ceiling. In the original, this part of the ceiling was kind of here. Actually, it might have even been here. It was very low and you sort of feel like you needed to crouch to get around. So I lifted it up and changed the ceiling, and I already liked the building, but I just decided to upgrade it even further. Imagine like going to such a place for, like, I don't know, a student union meeting or you know, O week, orientation week. I don't know if other people have O week. We have O week. Well, we did. I don't know if we still do at my university. And basically, O week is supposed to be about, you know, you're a first year student at university. You've probably, most likely, just come out of high school. You're suddenly free. And I didn't feel particularly free, but most people do. And O week is sort of like equal parts. This is where you go. This is how you access services. You know, this is what's expected of you as a university student. You know, formal orienting to being a university student in a city away from your family. And some semblance of independence. And also getting pissed as a new. for as often as possible. I passed on the getting drunk side because alcohol makes my stomach turn, but so O week is like equal parts party and equal parts serious, getting oriented to the university life. I can just imagine sort of O week celebrations in such a building. I definitely have to put some tables and chairs and stuff, and figure out where I want to put the counter and stuff. Maybe actually just this here, because you'd have like where the counter is to pay, and then you'd also have, you know, cakes and cake stall-y type things. I don't know, food areas. But yeah, I really like this building. It looks nice, and I feel kind of sad that I moved it out of its original space. But next to the cruciform and the other two that I really like, I think it looks pretty good. Obviously that's not what's there next to the cruciform in real life, but I need to start melding in this direction with the sort of the original actual campus and Aram City. That's the direction of the city, is in that direction. The rest of it. So it doesn't have to be an accurate representation. I don't think I want to do an accurate representation of London, quite honestly. So, without showing you like in more detail what I've done in the first montage, I shall pause and introduce the second montage, and then the introduction, the outro, I will show all the extra bits of detail and stuff that I haven't said in the midtro. So, even though it's already done, we'll pretend it's not done, just for 10 seconds. And I will say, wish me luck, and cue the music. welcome back. Behind me we have Malet Place, or Malay, I don't know actually if it's a French or just Mallet. According to a few of the bits of research I found on this place, this lane, it's a relatively well used area. So I'm hoping I've done it justice for anyone who's gone to UCL and found it to be an integral part of their study life. There were some things I had to compromise on because my scale is completely buggered, but that's okay. It's cool. Everyone makes mistakes. Now, this was me playing with texturing. I'm not sure if it's working, but I like the colour scheme. I just don't think I have the pattern down pat. Because it's so big, I actually have to go up here. So I actually did finish this building off camera. So there's floors and stairs and stuff, and lights. And it links to this one through a single hallway. This building took a while because I wanted to get the sort of vibe, and it took a while. Actually, there might be a hole. Oh, okay, I filled in the hole. Bloop. So the top level is quite squishy, the next level is less squishy. So they lead into each other through a gangway. I believe this is engineering. I can't remember now, but it's a very pretty building, and it was a pain. Honestly, I'm not complaining about the real building, but in Minecraft this was very irritating. Where did my hole go? Ah, there we go. I probably should have lifted this ceiling a little bit so it's less squishy inside. Obviously I haven't done this building. I've done most of the rest of the place. I forgot there's an awning here, big metal awning thingy here. I'll do it later. The hardest thing about all of this was actually trying to get the scale right, because to get the scale as it seems to be in real life, firstly I couldn't get a lot of clear pictures of this particular side, so I couldn't necessarily tell how big windows were and what the basic shapes were. I had to go onto YouTube and find videos by students who were doing sort of a walkthrough tour, and they happened to walk through Malet Place. And even then they were down here looking down or looking sideways, or I didn't get to see the whole thing. So I'm pretty sure this is wrong. But I did my best. I couldn't really do any more because I couldn't see much more. This one was really hard. I struggled quite a lot, particularly as the second half of it I couldn't see anything. It's either this one or the next one that's got all the Egyptian artifacts, and I think it's this one. Funnily enough, it's like Egyptian artifacts and pizza. So that's odd, but okay. I couldn't see any pictures of this side, but I could see a picture of the exit of a tunnel out in here. I think I mentioned it in the introduction that there were buildings and stuff along here, but there were cars in here, and I could see a tunnel here, which I have not framed very nicely, but that's okay. I'll fiddle with it later. It's quite a pretty building, and I like the balconies here. So you've got the balconies. Also the back of the clock. The clock tower in real life is actually much smaller, like by a third, if not half. I guess in this third. But I wanted it to look like a clock, and I wanted it to glow, so tough. It's too big, but at least it looks like a clock, sorta. And this building was completely the wrong size. It's supposed to go like to here, but there's no room for the other buildings, so it got smaller, but it still looks relatively to proportion. Again, it's not ideal, but I think given how hard Minecraft is to actually do real life things in, I did pretty well. Now these two roofs had a bunch of stuff on them. This one's got lots of piping and all sorts of uppy downy stuff. And then I realized when you're down here you can't see it. So I'll just, when what's on this roof is really blurry, I couldn't find a picture of it. It was just obviously, you know, sort of air venty type things and aerial type things, and I thought, if you can't see it from the road, meh. Too hard. And this building was quite complicated. It took a while, and I redid a bit and resized it a bit, and then realized that this corner was lower than that corner, and fiddle, 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 fiddle. But there is actually a courtyard, two courtyards. Not entirely sure why there are two courtyards. Maybe there were three buildings and they connected them, I'm not sure. But it's a very interesting looking roof. Like, if you get a distance, it's quite an interesting looking roof. I wasn't entirely sure what was a chimney and what wasn't. Like, this could be a chimney, but I don't actually know. But the whole place has floors. They have what's to do is it's curtains, banners for curtains. I'm pretty sure, given the fact that that's probably not a wide enough space for like rooms. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's 7 meters wide, and I suppose if your walls weren't a meter square, you could probably put a few small buildings or have like a hallway here and have 2 classrooms. I mean, my sitting room is like 4 meters wide at the widest, and that's 7, so it's not a small space. It's not ginormous, but it's, you know. But I'm pretty sure I got the scale wrong. But that's okay. Everything is out of scale in this particular project. It's actually my brand, really. Now this area where I took out those buildings, it was really hard. I got all the scale wrong. This should be twice as long as it is. I don't know whether I just made this building too wide or I don't know. But I managed to try and get it to kind of look like it's supposed to. And I made the tunnel. Bloop. But the thing about the tunnel is you go through it and you turn around and there's no building. So that's okay. I'll do the rest of the building next week, hopefully. I had originally intended on doing Malet Place and then the church on the corner in one episode, but between migraine brain and stress and lots of other stuff going on, and I always underestimate how much work something's going to be, I'm going to stop for this week. I'm already 2 days over my schedule. I mean, it's my schedule, I'm the one assigning it, so, you know, it's not the end of the world, but yeah, it's a lot bigger than I thought it would be. I'm hoping next week to finish this building, or I guess this, probably to here. The diagonal's going to annoy the heck out of me, so I might save it for a good week. If I can do that back bit and figure out this church, I will be happy. I may change where I put the church, because I realized that the entrance to the church would or should theoretically be on this corner, and it goes into the building. So I might have to change what I'm doing. Maybe bring the whole thing this way a bit more. Because if we move this a little bit so that this corner here sits here, so it comes this way and then this way, there might be room, and then we can have the entrance on from this road into it. Maybe have the monastery-ish thing, the not church bit in front. I don't know. I think the most important thing is that it looks as close to the real one from the street as possible, which shouldn't be too hard. It probably won't look the same from the sky, but this corner is just completely mashed. There's no way to make it look on all levels the same as real life, and that's okay. And as I said, I'm thinking I might just leave this diagonal until I'm having a really good brain week, because this is going to annoy the heck out of me. Getting windows on a diagonal surface is absolutely the worst. Sorry for my apparent pessimism. I'm in week 3 of a migraine, so I'm a little bit grouchy. It's not the end of the world, I'm just a little bit grouchy. I also forgot that I was going to put, like, walls. And, you know, do this. This area is apparently a, like an eating area. Like a dedicated specific space. So I might see, I found a video of what it looks like and sort of how big it is in comparison to a person walking. So we'll see what happens. Almost said that. For now, I shall go into the top of the building. Top of the tippy tallest. Because I like being up high. Ooh, that's a nice view. Look at that. That's awesome. Until next time, I hope you have a good week. I hope I have a good week. and Aranitasa.